Through the Looking Glass, Part 1, Chapter 1, Trapped. His eyes slowly blinked open as he gained consciousness. A small puff of air hit his face. He looked up to see a hole in the place he was confined in. The air was cold as Shadow crawled out of the broken tube. The shards of glass left small cuts on his body as he wiggled his way through. Shadow couldn't get a grasp on where he was. The world is blurry, and the sheer pain in his head wasn't helping. Once he was fully out, he placed his hand on what looked like a computer console and tried to balance himself. However, he didn't have much time as the sound of military boots filled the air. Shadow couldn't remember who or where he was, but something about that sound made him want to hide like he knew that he had to. So he did. From the corner of his eye, he spotted a small broken vent with the cover off. Shadow ran towards it and was able to squeeze into it, just out of view from the doorway. He held his breath as the sound of boots got louder. Soon men in military outfits filled the room.
Search for him! He couldn't have gone far!
Yes, sir, Commander Walters.
The group scoured the room. One person inched closer to the vent where Shadow was hiding. He covered his mouth and he held his breath. These people would never catch him, he refused. After a couple of minutes, the team headed out to search more of the ships, or base. Shadow wasn't quite sure as he still really didn't know where he was or what was going on. When the coast was clear, he quietly crawled out of the vent and began to walk towards the empty doorway. He'd only gone a few steps forward before the sound of a gun being loaded behind him reached his ears. He felt the cold steel metal press firmly against the back of his head.
Don't move, you monster.
The words came out like pure venom. Before Shadow could say anything, the voice pulled the trigger. The pain felt more like a prick than a gunshot wound, and the more he thought about it, the bullet didn't really feel like a bullet. Shadow tried to move, but he couldn't. Instead, he felt dizzy all over again, and before he knew it, his body was crashing to the ground against his will.
Great! A tranquilizer!
The last thing he felt before losing consciousness was the feeling as heavy boots digging deep into his fur.
Wade, are you sure you can do this?
Wade almost stopped in his tracks at the question, tightening his grip on what he assumed was Knuckles' suitcase.
Come on, Tom. I was able to hold the fort that last time you were gone.
Wade's reassurance didn't seem to wipe the worried look off of Tom's face.
That was barely for a day and the town was under attack.
Sure, Tom was Wade's best friend and he has lots of faith in him, but his track record hasn't been the best. It's almost impossible for him to not worry.
But it wasn't under attack the first day, and I did a pretty good job.
I know, but...
Before Tom could say anything more, Maddie walked over after locking the house door and placed a calming hand on Tom's shoulder.
Babe, stop worrying. Wade's got this.
Her genuine smile and thumbs up towards Wade did wonders for his confidence. If Maddie believed in him, then surely he was ready.
See? Thank you, Maddie.
Maddie walked over to the car to check on the boys after Wade gave her a small smile.
Okay. But if anything happens and you need me, you better call.
Tom's face was stern, but Wade was happy that he at least had some faith in him.
Yes, sir.
Wade said enthusiastically after mock saluting Tom and finally placing Knuckles' suitcase in the Wachowski's car trunk. Wade said goodbye to the Wachowski family one last time. He was truly gonna miss having them around. Green Hills just didn't feel the same without them. But he knew this family trip was much needed for them, and if it meant that he had to step up as acting sheriff to allow his best friend's family to relax, then that's exactly what he'll do. Besides, it's not like anything could go wrong. Robotnik is definitely no longer a threat anymore. Before he knew it, Wade was watching the Wachowski family drive off for their family road trip, leaving him alone in their now barren driveway. Once the truck was out of view, Wade walked over to his patrol car, ready to finish his afternoon patrol. As he sat down in the seat, he released a breath he didn't even know he was holding. He is trying his best to show confidence for Tom. But if he was being honest, Wade truly was nervous. Ever since watching Tom help save Greenhouse twice and willingly risk his life, Wade has felt extremely inferior. No one ever took him seriously, and his extreme awkwardness and anxiety definitely didn't help that. But this was his chance to change everything. A chance to prove to everyone that he was worthy of his job. A chance to prove to Tom that he was worthy of his friendship. And a chance to prove to himself that he can do more. He can be more. As Wade turned on the ignition, he took one more breath in before driving off.
Well, here goes nothing.
And with that, Wade started his patrol. Shadow was awoken with an electric shock through his body, a taser of some sort he assumed. He moved his head around only to notice that he was restrained with cuffs and chains. The white-haired man from before stood in front of him with a smirk planted on his face.
So this is the ultimate life form.
In an instant, his face twisted into one of pure disgust.
What a disappointment.
He said before spitting in Shadow's face. Shadow growled at the action and pushed against the restraints.
There's no use. You'll never be able to escape. You're powerless.
Shadow wished the words didn't affect him, but the man wasn't wrong. He was indeed powerless right now. Without the energy from the Chaos Emerald, he was nothing. Wait, how did he know that? Shadow wasn't sure where that information came from, but something about it felt so true. He couldn't deny it. His body went limp as a wave of helplessness overcame him. He was trapped, stuck in an unknown place, memories lost, and an uneasy sense that he was in for a lot of pain.
Oh, don't look so sad, little hedgehog. We are simply doing what must be done. You were meant to be a weapon, but it seems that you can't even do that right.
He walked towards Shadow and roughly grabbed his chin with his hand. He bent down close, his nose almost touching the black hedgehog's.
But don't worry, we'll fix that.
The man leaned into Shadow's ear.
What we?
The words caused a shiver to run along his spine. He didn't like the sound of the man's sweetly sadistic voice. Once the man was done, he left the room, leaving Shadow to be surrounded by people with lab coats. For some reason, seeing these people with their long white lab coats caused the fur on the back of his neck to stand up.